In a time permeated by the darkness of night and profound awe for the great goddess, a tribe prepares for the impending ritual. The sky above them is a deep, velvety black, strewn with countless stars that twinkle like guideposts of the Mahavidyas. The air is heavy with the scent of raw flesh and burnt incense, mingling with the metallic tang of blood. The members of the tribe move with silent resolve, their faces barely visible in the flickering light of the torches they carry. Clad in garments of animal hides and adorned with bones and beads that clatter with every step, their eyes are filled with a mixture of persistence and devotion. They know that the great goddess is here and now, all around them. At the center of the gathering burns a great fire. Beside it stands an altar adorned with flowers, fruits, and the bones of the tribe's enemies. At its heart sits a statue of the great goddess, hewn from black stone and draped in copper and bone jewelry, depicting her in all her terrible beauty. She possesses 6 arms. The first holds the Trishula, for she is the ultimate authority, standing far beyond the reach of time. The second wields the sword, with which she severs all attachments, illusions, chains, and force. The third forms the Abhay Mudra, showing that we need not fear. The fourth holds the severed head, representing the victory over the ego that must die within us. The fifth holds a ball to catch the blood she will drink. And the sixth arm performs the Varda Mudra, signaling that through sincere devotion, we receive her grace and favor. She wears a towering crown of bone decorated with copper ornaments. Her face is etched with an expression of fury and wrath, her eyes seem to spit fire, and her tongue is thrust far out to drink the blood of her enemies. She wears the Munda Mala, a garland of skulls symbolizing impermanence, the death of the ego, and liberation from samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Likewise, she wears the Chinnabhuja belt of severed arms, symbolizing the dissolution of karmic bonds and the release of worldly attachments. The elder of the tribe steps forward, an old man with a face carved by the wrinkles of time and wisdom. He wears a Munda Mala to honor his goddess, for children have always mirrored the actions of the mother. He holds the Khatvanga, a staff of bone engraved with the symbols of the goddess. He begins to chant a hymn telling of her greatness and power. His voice is deep and resonant, echoing through the night as the tribe's people, one by one, offer their sacrifices. Each approaches the altar with the utmost respect, laying down raw meat before settling in deep prayer around the flames. They join the elder, and soon the air vibrates with the sound of their voices. They dance and sing, their bodies moving in a trance-like state, offering meat and blood from animals slain in her name. They pour the blood over the statue of the great goddess as a sacred offering. Suddenly, the darkness is shattered by a blinding light. A fire erupts upon the altar, and the statue of the great goddess seems to breathe with life. Her eyes sparkle in the firelight, and her tongue laps the blood from the offerings. The tribe's people fall to their knees, their faces filled with joy and adoration. They feel the presence of the great goddess in every fiber of their being, sensing that in this moment, everything is in perfect harmony. In her presence, they feel shielded from all negativity. The story closes with the image of the tribe kneeling in worship before the great goddess Kali. The scent of flesh and blood lingers in the air, and the ever-burning fire symbolize the great goddess's promise to protect her followers, a sign that her blessing rests upon the tribe. It serves as a reminder that the great goddess is present at all times, here and now, everywhere around us. Just as the darkness of the night envelopes us, the great goddess wraps us in her eternal embrace, granting us salvation. Jaya Mata Kali.